Attention! What's up, soldiers? This is Ron Zigbar here, and I'm coming back at you with another video for Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier. In this video, we'll be discussing how to breed the perfect Chocobo, so stick around. Alright, so before we get into the actual breeding of the Chocobos, I want to go over the stat foods you can feed your Chocobos. They are pretty important, so let's go ahead and get that out of the way. First, we have the Curiel root, which as you can see will increase your speed at the cost of your attack and stamina. Then we have the Pasana fruit, which increases your Chocobo's stamina and decreases its jump and speed. The Tanta plant fruit increases your Chocobo's HP and decreases its jump and speed. The Crocker root increases your Chocobo's attack while it decreases its HP and stamina. And finally, we have the Giselle greens that increases your Chocobo's jump while it decreases its attack and HP. On a quick note, while feeding your Chocobos does increase its stats, it will only decrease the stats that your Chocobos were not born with, meaning it only decreases the stats in the transparent yellow colors, and the stats in the solid yellow colors will not decrease from its position when feeding stat foods. You can obtain these Chocobo stat foods as rewards for increasing your season levels. You can also obtain them from secret boxes found in loot chests while playing ranked or unranked games. You can hold 2 of these secret boxes at a time, and once the game is over, the boxes will open, revealing the loot inside. Usually you'll find some Chocobo foods in there. Now, finally for the breeding. When picking the male and female Chocobo you're going to use for breeding, you want the male to have at least one of the stats you want close to being fully maxed. And you want the female to have a different stat that you want close to being fully maxed out as well. The 2 Chocobos I have on screen are good examples of what you want the stats to look like when breeding. This is very important because we are looking for Chocobos that have the greatest chance of potentially passing their best stats to their offspring. In this case, being speed and jump. However, this does not guarantee the stats to be passed down to the offspring. From my experience in breeding, this just increases the chance of the offspring being born with those stats. That being said, the most important component when passing down the parent stat to the offspring are the nuts you give the Chocobos when pairing. Feeding the correct nut at the time of breeding is essential for obtaining a Chocobo offspring with the stats that you desire. For example, in this case, because the stats I want to pass down to the offspring is speed and jump, I want to give the parents a nut that does not change speed and jump in any way, but changes a different stat that I want to change for the offspring. For this breeding pair, I chose the Lacing nut, which changes HP and stamina. In doing this, we increase the chances of speed and jump remaining unchanged, in hopes of the offspring inheriting the parents' best stats. And because we chose the Lacing nut, which changes HP and stamina, if we're really lucky, we could potentially get an offspring with max speed and jump inherited from the parents, and HP and stamina changed by the nut. However, the chances are pretty slim, but it can happen. Now that we figured that all out, let's go ahead and breed these 2 beautiful Chocobos and see what we get. After all that, sadly, luck was not on our side in the slightest, and we got a below average Chocobo offspring from that pair. As you can see, it inherited the parents' traits, which were Power Nap and Choco Cure, and some of the father's speed, but nothing special. I wanted to show you this example because it went to show that even when pairing the perfect parents and choosing the correct nut, you are not guaranteed to get a good offspring, and it will sometimes take several attempts to get the Chocobo you want. I went ahead and released the offspring of the previous example I just showed and started with 2 new pairs. And I got the male you see on the left from an egg I hatched that did not come from breeding, and I got the female Chocobo you see on the right from breeding. As you can see, the male has 1 trait and the female has 2 traits. Now in this example, I want the male's speed and female's attack to be passed down to the offspring. Because of this, I do not want to change the speed and attack stats. So I went ahead and went with the Lacing nut again, which changes HP and stamina. and luckily we got the parents who passed down the best stats to their offspring, being speed and attack, and the offspring also hatching with decent HP and stamina because of the nut. Now that I have this beautiful Chocobo, I decided to feed it. And the best part is that because this Chocobo has max attack and almost max speed, now I can feed for other stats and not have to worry about losing out on speed and attack. I decided to feed for HP, jump, and stamina for an overall strong Chocobo, and these are its stats now. Now that you're a master Chocobo breeder, I do want to say it is possible to get even better stats for your Chocobo. However, you will need 5 to 6 Chocobo pins to make this possible, and a lot more breeding attempts. If I wanted a Chocobo with better stats, I would have to breed for an offspring with max HP, stamina, or jump, and pair that offspring with this one in hopes of the parent stats being passed down to the offspring for a better overall Chocobo. But that's a lot of RNG and breeding, so I will just go with a Chocobo offspring that has 2 of the stats you want maxed out and feed for the other stats you want. I almost forgot to mention, you can also tell how good the Chocobo's offspring stats will be before they hatch by the timer located under the eggs. If it's a 6-hour egg, the Chocobo will hatch with low to medium stats. However, if it's a 9-hour egg, the Chocobo will hatch with above average to high stats. And the colors of the Chocobos are random, the rare colors being gray, black, Chocobo yellow, and white. Thank you so much, soldiers, for watching. I really appreciate it. Please consider liking and subscribing, as these videos do take me a little bit to make and it really helps out the channel. I will see you on the next one. At ease.